Here it is, mid-December, and it's a beautiful spring day. I tell you, this is amazing. It's in the 70s today. A slight breeze. Every now and then the wind picks up a little bit, but not too bad. I mean, you can kind of see what the wind's doing. It's just kind of breezy. The wind's coming from the south, apparently. It's going to chill off again this week, but I tell you, this winter has been really nice, really, to be honest. Last winter wasn't too bad either, but we were down in the camper and we had the heat exchanger, and I'll get into that in just a minute. But I thought today I would do a little this or that video, talk about multiple subjects. People seem to really like these videos. I don't mind talking about what's going on around here instead of trying to keep it to one topic. It just really violates what YouTube really wants you to talk about, so it's strange to me. But regardless, last year we had mild temperatures also, but I had that outdoor heat exchanger. So I used a lot of firewood trying to keep the camper warm. What it was is I ran a ventilation from the heat exchanger outside into the house. And in order to keep the thing going, I had to keep putting firewood into it. The box that surrounded the stove had to stay warm. Otherwise, if it would cool off, then it'd take forever to warm it back up. So you always had to put firewood in it. The only way to really regulate the temperature in the camper was the ventilation. I had this little vent on it that I could open and shut, and that way we can keep the temperature in the house warm, but it was always hot outside. So it was just a waste of firewood. But this year, we're not wasting firewood at all. The house, even on cold days, you know, we've been down to the low 20s. I think the most I've had to run a load of firewood was 3 times in a day. Normally I load it up in the morning, let it run, and then, I don't know, by 9 o'clock that night, I load it up again. Most of the time don't need to, but if I let it go too long into the night, then it would get cold. So instead of getting up in the middle of the night, I just start it up. But there's been 2 or 3 times that I've started up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're talking 2 sticks of firewood. I mean, when we're talking about firewood, that would be a log to me. So I would use 2 of these and then cut that in half. I'd use one of those in half. So 2, 3 basically. Now, when we talk about logs, the log is 6 inches. So I can get, what, 3 or 4 sticks, like I just showed you, out of that log. So we are not using any firewood. Yeah, probably 3 sticks there. So maybe, I keep saying I'm using 2 logs per load, maybe just 1 log. Now, the thing is since it's been so warm, we haven't had to use hardly any firewood on days like this. We didn't use any firewood last night. I don't even think we used any yesterday. That's really good news, because although I have firewood that is at 20%, because the firewood has to be 20% or less, I showed you in yesterday's video that it takes quite a bit of work to find wood that is at 20%. Typically the stuff with bark on it is a little high, it's around 23%. The stuff that is split is at 20% or less. I've been going down here, I'll grab an armful of logs, I'll split them down into little pieces like I just showed you. I'll measure them to see if they're 20% or less, and I'll take them back up. But the thing is if I don't have to use a lot of firewood this year, then that means next year everything will be dry. I won't have to do any measuring. I can just split it, run it in the house. So each year it's getting a little better. Last year we only ran wet firewood. It was terrible. We had chimney fires, we had creosote buildup. Another question that keeps coming up is canning. Rob, why don't you start canning some more? Well, actually there's 2 reasons why I've kind of stopped canning. One is because I don't need to can any more food. As you know, I've canned 300 jars of food, and so that's pork there. This is hamburger. Now with the hamburger, we got the tattler lids. We might have it with chicken also, I think. We started breaking into the tattler lids, and they're working out perfect. Tattler lids are reusable. So you may be familiar with the metal lids. These are one-time use. Some people will use them twice, but you're not supposed to. So the tattler lids, I'm just ecstatic about how well that worked out. I can reuse that ring on the tattler lid. If you haven't seen the canning videos, go over to my playlist. As a matter of fact, I'll put a video from that playlist at the end of this video. I'll put it right on the screen somewhere. It'll pop up, just click it, and then you'll see the tattler lids. I think I've I got a video like that. So you see that orange ring? It'll last 10 times. But the thing is I don't need to can any more food. We got 300 jars worth of food. That's almost a year's worth of food. We've talked about canning more, going to the store, buying sales, buying some chicken. We've talked about it, but then that's just going to use up jars. What we want to be careful of is that by next fall, so almost a year away, we got enough jars to can chicken, our pigs, so we'll have chicken that we'll have to can, the pigs we'll have to can, and the corn. And whatever other vegetables we come up with. So we're going to need plenty of jars. Well, jars are hard to find. So if we have to go out and buy them at the next year, then it's kind of a lot of money all at once. Not that we couldn't get them, we could. If we don't have to, there's no reason to, especially if we got enough food to last us a year. So that's the primary reason. The secondary reason is YouTube videos that with me canning do not do well at all. And it makes sense. If you look at my analytics on YouTube, 60% of my audience is males, maybe even 70% are males. I would suspect that men aren't all that interested in canning. I'm sure there's some like me. I've been called a wimp before. Oh, you're a wimp for canning. Do manly things like smoke your meat. But I like canning. I think that a lot of guys just don't want to watch canning videos, so the videos don't do well. It takes a little bit of effort to make a video on a channel that is failing already. I get up at 5:30 in the morning. I get up 5:30 in the morning. I edit it and post it, and of course I got to record it. So I mean, we're talking several hours a day just on one video. It doesn't make any sense to do that. I mean, the logic would say that no, don't do that. There's better ways to spend your time. But again, next fall we'll be back to canning, and of course I'll have to make some canning videos because that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be butchering pigs. It's going to be quite the process, actually. Okay, now obviously I've told everybody that I'm starting another YouTube channel. And the reason is because, like I just said, this channel is not doing very well. So that's a great segue from one this or that to another this or that. I don't want to end this channel, obviously, but I also want to make sure that I can continue to make these videos. And the only way to make these videos is to come up with another channel idea that YouTube's going to promote. And it appears that YouTube seems to like my new channel. The viewers seem to like my new channel, so I'm going to focus on that one to make enough money to support this channel, which is obviously just failing. So a lot of people have come up with suggestions on how to get this channel to do better. The thing is there are hundreds of YouTube pages called analytics, hundreds of them, that tell you what's working, what's not working, why it's not working. And YouTube has obviously a grasp on what's going on because they are the ones sending the videos out to people. If YouTube says we're not sending it out to people because there is no audience left, well, of course, then subscribers say, well, we're your audience. Okay, if you look at the analytics, you'll say, okay, I got 49,000 subscribers. I can't break 50. I got 49,000 subscribers, but a video only gets 5,000 views. That's pretty bad. That's only 10% of my audience that's watching. So YouTube's saying that the audience is just not interested in your content anymore. It makes sense though, because if you think about it, the appearance of life is better than it was last year or the years before that. The years before that, people honestly thought the world was coming to an end. And so they wanted to go off grid. Well, now for some reason, it's in the polling. People are happier than they were for the last 4 years. People are just generally happier, believe it or not. So they're not watching off-grid channels. Why would they watch an off-grid channel when they can be just as happy living in their on-grid house? But then the people are suggesting, well, you need to start building again. Obviously, we built a tiny house. Well, okay, let's talk about building something. When I was building the tiny house, views were actually starting to drop at that time. The best time I had, I peaked, I was coming up. For the last 3 years, I was coming up, and I peaked around November of last year. Then I started building a tiny house, and my views started dropping. So I don't know if I want to spend a bunch of money building something as an experiment to see if my channel's going to grow. When I already know last year when I was building something was something that I wanted to build, not just something I want to build because my YouTube channel needs it, the views are already going down. It just doesn't make sense to spend money as an experiment to try to save a YouTube channel. It seems quite ridiculous in my mind, actually. Of course, there are other suggestions that I should do that I need to start canning. That was one of the suggestions. You need to start canning again. That'll get your views back up. No, I mean, canning videos are the worst videos I make. Hands down, terrible. They just do terrible. Firewood videos do pretty good, even though I get the most complaints about firewood videos. And that's the thing about the community section, or the comment section. If the comment section doesn't like a video, they're very vocal about it. But when you look at the analytics, that is key. You look at the analytics, the video does very well. Good watch time, good click-through rate, good everything. You know, lots of thumbs up compared to thumbs down. Just everything's in good. But the comment section usually is terrible. So what we hear is, we don't like the wood videos, the firewood videos, we hate them. But everything else indicates they're great. Whereas then you'll do a canning video, oh, that's a great video, best video you've ever done. But it didn't even get views, much less watch time. I mean, they hear the word canning. Nope. And so there's all kinds of suggestions on how to save the channel. I've come to resolve myself to the fact this channel probably isn't going to be savable in any of the near future. Let's put it that way. So I gotta make the other channel. I just have to, if I want to continue to do this channel. And then the other thing I have to think about is trying to come up with content all the time for this channel. If I repeat myself too much, then I get all the people telling me, you're repeating yourself too much. So let's talk about firewood. But if I make too many firewood channels, I get all kinds of comments. That's all you do is talk about firewood, talk about something else. So it's hard to come up with content where not only am I getting good view ratios, I'm also getting positive feedback. So I hope I can inspire you to work through the tough times when you're living your dream. Thanks for watching.